As BioWare continues their Tell Don't Show marketing campaign for Dragon Age The Veilguard, they conducted another Discord Q&A, this time with John Epler, the game's creative director. There were no groundbreaking revelations here, but there were some interesting tidbits of information, so I thought I'd share them with you, in case, like me, you don't have Discord. And since I'm not on Discord, I would like to thank Fellison from Tumblr for transcribing the Q&A. So with that said, let's get started with some quick answers to some quick questions. First up, Epler confirms that you will be able to enable or disable your helmet. You can either do this for cutscenes only or for all time. Which is great, because if you spend a long time in character creation, you probably want to see your beautiful handiwork. I suppose the opposite is true as well, in which case you can always enable the helmet to hide the hideous abomination that you've created. Speaking of character creation, Epler confirms that there are long curly hair options. And to a question about editing race during character creation, Epler says that Lineage informs a number of options after that choice. You can always go back in Character Creator and change it, but it's the first decision you will make, and changing it will reset all following decisions. To a question about whether we'd be locked out of specialization depending on our faction, Epler says no. That while specializations are themed toward one faction or another, we'll be able to pick any specialization, even ones from factions that are not our own. As to whether there will be codex entries to collect in Dave, Epler says absolutely. Codex entries are part of the DNA of Dragon Age, and he says, besides, they're fun to write. With regard to subtitles, Epler says that subtitles will appear center screen and have the speaker's name attached, so you'll see who's saying what. A user asked if we'd be able to rewatch the game's cutscenes. Epler says no. He says, since our cutscenes are almost all real-time in-engine, this would be nearly impossible with our tech. Another user was interested in the possibilities of a third World of Thedas. Epler said that he couldn't comment on any specific plans, but the World of Thedas is close to his heart, and he would like to do more work in general on their ancillary books and products. To a question about whether there would be companion gifts again, Epler says that you very well might find things in the world that certain companions would appreciate. As to Rook's age, Epler says that Rook is generally assumed to be anywhere from late 20s to late 40s, but ultimately, we don't give Rook a specific age, and you can RP them to be however old you want. To a question about how conversations will work in Dave, whether it will be like in DAI or whether you will have an actual cutscene, Epler says, while we do have some lighter conversations for specific types of content, they, meaning conversations, use a more traditional over-the-shoulder cinematic camera. He says that he created the simple conversation system in DAI, and while it did what they needed it to do, we heard the feedback on the camera loud and clear. Yep, I never liked the DAI conversation system, so I, for one, am glad to hear that it's mostly gone. Epler also addressed the Darkspawn redesign by saying that he's not going to say what it is that's making them look different, but it's more than a visual redesign. However, whatever lore reason you give for the redesign doesn't necessarily make the redesign a good one. Someone asked about whether there would be returning characters, and Epler said that it wouldn't be a Dragon Age game without returning characters, that they had already mentioned some of the obvious ones and hinted at others, but they wanted to leave some surprises for launch. And someone asked about the lighthouse, whether there would be a kitchen, whether we can eat and drink, and in general what kind of interactables will we find around our base. Epler refrained from giving specifics about interactables, but he did say that there was more to do in the lighthouse than have conversations with our companions. For one, he did say that the lighthouse does indeed have a kitchen, and companions would acknowledge it and use it both narratively and ambiently. So I'm guessing that we might have a cutscene in the kitchen, and when we're walking around we might find companions in there using the equipment. In a follow-up to the question about race and character creator, someone asked, do other lineages also have background choices the way elves do with City and Dalish? Can we play a Qunari raised within the Qun? To which Epler answers, just to be super clear on this, there is no City Elf, Dalish Elf switch, for example, that you can pick in character creation. Each lineage can be each faction, though, and that will provide a baseline for your character that you can further refine through roleplay. For elves, as an example, Veil Jumper elves tend to be more Dalish to reflect that background, while Shadow Dragon elves tend to have a background that reflects being an elf in Minrathous, and other factions have their own nuance. Importantly, those things tend to be more focused on how you relate to that faction, while leaving more general elf topics as something you have more freedom with. Or the too long didn't read version. While choices at character creation define some baselines around your character, we like to give you the opportunity to build your character's background and beliefs through in-game RP. Hopefully that makes sense. The user responded that it did, but that wasn't really their question. They wanted to know whether we can see the same kind of background variety in the non-elfin lineages. To which Epler says there will be plenty of opportunities for you to RP who you are, or were, for the other lineages as well. And finally someone asked what criteria they used to determine which real-world animals they would bring into Thedas. Epler said that mostly they needed an inspiration, because they can't bring every single animal out there into the world, especially since we want the ones we do put into the game to be at the right level of quality. So we pick the ones that we know make sense in the spaces we're building, and also is based on what the team wants to do. If someone is incredibly passionate about bringing in a specific creature, it's something we want to give opportunities to pursue wherever possible. As to the general ecology of Thedas, there are absolutely similarities, but it's not a one-to-one. A world where megafauna still exists as apex predators, i.e. dragons, is going to have some pretty significant impact on what else exists. So there you have it, just a few tidbits of information from the Discord. Like I said, no big reveals here, but some interesting stuff nonetheless. But let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you like this comment, why not like and subscribe for more Dragon Age coverage. And as always, thanks for watching, see you next time.